loosely, go ahead and choose me. Here I am, listen loosely, don't say that you knew me. Here I am, listen loosely, go ahead and choose me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Verry Blunt podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and we're doing something we haven't done before, and we are doing thought-provoking questions with each other. I'm going to love this. This is going to be great. I want you to introduce yourself, big guy. Go ahead.
I'm Delbert, aka Crazy D. Pleasure to meet you and everybody on the show.
Yeah. Why do they call you Crazy D?
That's a nickname I got about like 15 years ago. Young Seb, maybe you're familiar, gave me that name, and it just stuck. You know, I kind of am proud of it. Back then, it was a little bit more like, "Hey, you're crazy, man, you're Crazy D," and I was like, "Yeah, party on." Now it's a little bit more like, "You're crazy, man," and it's like, "Yeah, yeah." But you know,
the meaning changed.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get older, you're like, I got to work on this crazy. But it's a great month, mental health month this month. So mental health awareness.
Yes. Tell me something that when it comes to mental health awareness that you think that you work on and you need to constantly work on yourself, either better or something that's better for you or something that was bad for you that is getting better for you because you're working on it. Give me an example of something that you're working on.
So I'm trying to meditate more. It's really helpful to like slow things down. A lot of the problems I have is that either my thoughts control my emotions or my emotions control my thoughts. But either way, there's like a disconnect. And when I'm disconnected, I really gotta slow down. It's a practice. Like I was doing it a lot, and then I stop. It's like exercising at the gym. It's like anything. Like eating healthy. You just stop doing it, and then you start to realize I'm not feeling as balanced or as control of my thoughts or emotions. It's like one or the other.
Okay, great answer. Great answer. We're going to go back to that. Because I do want to ask more questions about that, especially since it's Mental Health Month. And I think this is a great, great time to do this podcast and, have awareness of it. And I think it's great. All right. So my first question for you is, second question, right? Sorry. My second question to you is, what's something that you believe that most people don't?
Whew. Okay. Well, for starters, I'm a little bit of a nihilist, which is like I don't believe that anything really matters, that nothing is real. Essentially, all of what we see is an illusion. You look at science and things like that, it kind of points to these kinds of things. Like most of atoms are empty space. It's kind of like we're giving value to the reality that we're living in. So a lot of people can't process that. They're content with their ideas of society, God, culture, their phones, whatever it is that they focus on. It gives them peace. They don't think outside of that. Well, what is the big picture?
What is the big picture, though?
That was one of my questions I was going to ask. You believe in God, like it's. I don't want to get spiritual on you. I don't.
We can do this is an open platform. This is an open platform. You can talk about whatever you want. I want that to be clear to you. I didn't explain that before. I thought Chris might have, but this is open. We don't take judgment here. You can say whatever you want, and I'm not judging you. And I hope the same. You don't judge me for whatever I'm gonna say. Open. So,
all right. No, I didn't want to go there because it's such a sensitive topic with people, and personally, I just think if you have to have a higher power, like I don't want to go all NA on you, but something that's bigger than yourself.
Got it.
When you're just yourself, like you said with self and society, we're gonna do later, but that's a big part of it. Is you
self
can't.
and society we're doing right now. That's my first question.
Essentially, yeah, the whole topic is self and society, right?
Yes.
What everybody wakes up to every day. What am I going to do today in society?
So, all right. So I'm going to tell you something that I believe that most people don't.
Okay.
I I would say the past 3 years, maybe even less than that, but we'll just say 3 years. I believe that we live in a simulation,
Okay. Like the main.
and I would say yay and nay. Like I don't want to fully compare it to the Matrix, but I understand. It took me a while. I watched that movie a lot of times, the whole series, and every time I watch it, I learn something new, right? And that's like a great movie. That's how you know when it's a great movie is when you can watch it multiple times and you're like, holy shit, I missed that. Holy shit, I missed that. And when I remember when we were kids, when we're about the same age, right? I'm 32. How old are you?
32. Yep.
Okay, so when that movie first came out, I'm like the coolest thing was this like guy dodging bullets and shit like that, right? And
Yeah.
and everybody used to talk about that, and now the coolest thing is like the red pill and blue pill theory, and like do you want to live in a reality that is not real, or do you want to live in a reality that you kind of see on the outside living inside, right? And that's like a concept that I think a lot of people don't grasp. And I think that's like we live in a simulation. And I think what you were saying prior, and you can elaborate on this a little bit, is that you kind of live outside of that simulation, right? You kind of live into like, you think that, you go back to Adams, like there's no, is there a purpose in life? You're just trying to figure that out, but like there's no God to you. We just wake up every day. You don't idolize the president or idolize your phone or idolize something, like you just are living on the present moment daily on a constant, right? Am I understanding what you're saying right there?
To an extent, I feel like because I have this different worldview than most people who just fit better into society than I do. Maybe because of my bipolar, but I'm not sure exactly. It's been a long time untreated, so I also have smoked, weed and done other drugs. So who knows if my perception is altered? But it ostracizes me. It keeps me on the outside of society. It's like harder for me to get in to the clique.
Okay.
So, in a way, I can kind of see your simulation theory. There's a great Black Mirror episode where everybody's like rated based on their like Facebook
I
stuff.
know. I love it. I
Oh, that
love it.
episode, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would have like no stars, dude. I have no Facebook, no Twitter, no. I'm naming
Social
stupid.
media. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm naming stupid ones. So Snapchat. I don't have.
Nothing. You don't have any
Yeah,
social
I don't
media.
have any of them because it never suited me. It never, like you crave this attention, and then when it doesn't come, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I avoided that. So I never really felt the need to be socially accepted. And now it's gotten to the point where even people who know me are like, you're too far on the outside. Like you're
I mean,
like,
but sometimes that's the best thing.
I think it's good for me because I watch a lot of shows where like, they're tracking people and it's like their credit card transactions, their cell phone usage, this and that. And I'm like, they would find nothing about me.
I can
Simulation.
live in the woods and no one would find me.
Well, that's why I think I have issues with, the authorities. And part of me, like, if you want to, I don't like to be paranoid. Like you're tapping into my paranoia here, but it's like, uh, are
Do you
they
not want me
asking
to? Do you
that?
not want me to?
No, you should,
Okay,
because
good. Okay,
honestly,
good.
I'm using this as my therapy because I haven't gone to therapy this week. So,
Okay. Okay.
but 30 minutes of us talking. But the point I was trying to make was that you see, I lose my train of thought back. Stoner, but no, but the authorities they're always harassing me. Like I'm at the point where like my mental illness is so known to like the police and stuff in my town and that if I walk down the street alone, they're like, "What are you doing alone?"
Sounds like you need to move to a different town.
Yeah, well, I'm back to where I didn't want to be. I've been trying to run away from Bound Brook. Bound Brook is like my Amityville horror. That movie where the house is like possessing you. Like
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm in Boundberg, I turn into like a Boundberg gremlin. I'm like, you got a Newport? See me on the corner out there. I'm like, what's happening to me? Oh, get this off me. I gotta get out of this town. But
It
I'm like,
sounds like you got to get out of that town.
that,
But
that I love the woods. I love being in nature. If you said I don't believe in God, but I'm trying to break free of the chains of like Christianity, Judaism, all these religions have laws and separation. And I'm like, all right, break that shit down, break down this wall. These things are all the same. People are freaking arguing over the same shit pretty much.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I believe in a higher power. If we're gonna go into belief, right? I believe in a higher power, and when I say God, I think like good orderly duty, right? Like I just think you should be a good person, right? At the end of the day, like no matter what you believe in, I know people that go to church on Sunday and are fucking assholes on Monday. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah.
why do you go to church? Why do you go to church then? Like at the end of the day, like you just have to be a good person. You don't have if you're gonna believe in something, believe in being a good person, right? Like I believe that we're all earthlings, and we're all on this planet Earth together. And that's my belief. Like, I wish there was no borders and I can just go anywhere, and that was a thing. And the government tracks us too much. You drive down the road and you go past the toll booth. We live in Jersey, and now we can't even pay cash. And even when you were paying cash, they were taking pictures of your license plate and
Yeah.
following you where you travel. That's illegal. Like that shit's illegal. You're restricting my right to travel, and
And
you're taking like fucking pictures of my license plate to see where I'm going. I mean, come on. There has to be like a fucking minimum. And once the government takes the right away, they never give it back. We never get our rights back. So I feel like people are such zombies. I never got the COVID vaccine. And I'm sure that's something you never got too, just by belief, right? I could tell it already.
I did get it.
Oh
Yeah,
no
I got
shit.
2 doses.
Oh shit.
It didn't kill me. It didn't. I'll be honest with you. When it first came out, I let my in-laws got it first. They were like the first ones. They got in line. They were like, "We're old." I was like, "Let's see what happens." Like I was like, "I'm not getting it for like at least 6 months. Let's see if we turn into zombies, yo." I knew that shit was off. But I got it because of work. I got it because like you said, it's almost like so I had one person tell me about the COVID vaccine. He was like, they're putting nanobots, nanotechnology into that shit. And I looked at him, I'm like, what for? Nanotechnology is like $1 billion fucking industry. Like, I don't think, they're gonna give it to everybody.
Right.
And he's like, to track us, man, to track us. And I was like, do you have a cell phone? Do you have a
Yeah, you're
driver?
already tracked.
You have a driver's license? You use like you use credit cards? Like, dude, you register your vehicle? Like you can't do anything in this fucking world without
I know. I know. And that should all be illegal, first off. Why am I registering my car that I own with the state that I live? It's wild to me. It's a wild concept that the government the only thing that you should have, this is my belief, the only thing that you should have for driving a car is insurance, because insurance really protects the other person, right? Like you don't. That's the. I don't care about a license. I don't care if you don't know how to drive, right? Learn how to drive, but you tell me I have to get a card to tell you that I know how to drive? No, fuck that. If I own this vehicle, I should be able to use the vehicle, right? Like you don't get a license to ride a lawnmower to cut your grass. You figure that shit out, right? You know what I'm saying? You should get you should have to get insurance on your car, and insured in case something happens. You're insured to protect another person. Other than that, I think everything else is just a money fucking grab. Everything else is a money fucking grab, and it's just a way for them to track you, like fucking everything else in this life. And we can get into a deep conversation about that, but I'm not going to on that one. This is
I have one thing to say about that because I have some
do it.
experience with a judge, and I made the same exact case you're making, trying to suspend my license or something like that. I've been involved with legal matters my whole life. I could be a lawyer, but they're trying to suspend my license. I'm arguing that I need it, blah 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 blah. And it came down to, this is what the judge said to me. He said, "Driving is not a right. That's where you're misinformed, Mr. Reynolds. Driving is a privilege." And I was like, "What?" Like,
That's not
next thing
true.
you're gonna say, breathing is a privilege. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's not true. That's not true. If you go back into the Constitution, you know, that a license is, you didn't, when they first made a car, they didn't have a driver's license.
No,
Like,
rules always come after.
yeah,
Rules
yeah, yeah, yeah,
come
yeah,
after the fact. You ever
yeah.
notice? Like
Yeah,
first
yeah.
something happens, and then something happens, and then they're like, let's make a rule.
Yeah, like that guy that jumped out of a plane. That guy that like hijacked the plane back in the day. You know, they used to back in the 70s. They used to just
Yeah, yeah. DB
hijack planes. Yeah. Cooper, right, or whatever his name is.
Cooper, yeah.
And they said that that's when they started implementing like rules for like flights and stuff. And then they said it was like a government job. There's this whole like theory on it. I'm like a conspiracy theorist, or there's something that someone told me. He said that you're not a conspiracy theorist, you're something else, but you're a truth finder or something like that. And I like that a little bit better than a conspiracy theorist, because like I feel like we're constantly seeking the truth, right? Like we don't know what's gonna happen when we die. There's so many different things that people tell you, but do we really know what's gonna happen when we die? No, no one will know until you die.
No one can tell you.
No
You know,
one,
no
no
one will
one.
ever be able to tell you what it's
Never,
like.
ever, never,
It's
ever.
forever.
It's whatever you believe in, that's probably what's gonna happen, right? Because it's your like inner thoughts and your inner brain and your soul and blah 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 blah, right? You know what I'm saying? It goes down to a deep theory. I can get into theories all day. I love it.
I mean,
Um,
I love the conspiracy, man. Like you got me thinking. Do you know much about like the government is not really what we think it is? Like the government is just one part of our government, and then they don't teach you this in school. They tell you about the three branches of government. That's all one thing. I
right.
consider that one thing, and then there's another thing, and then another thing that kind of run our country. And the second thing is the Federal Reserve, which
Oh yeah.
prints
Which
our
is
money.
yes, absolutely.
So that you know, and they don't run through the government. The government kind of oversees them, but it's kind of loose. It's like, well, you need our money. That's how they look at it. You need our money, so you're going to play ball the way we print the money. You know, like they control the economy. So it's kind of like, well, why don't we not like vote for who's going to be the Federal Reserve chairman and shit like that, right? And then the other thing is the CIA, dude. The CIA is like essentially like a lawless, above the government, does whatever the fuck it has
They're
to.
the mob.
They're like the mob of the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like the same concept with the Federal Reserve. Like they're just overseen, but who's really, you know, they
The
killed
CIA killed
Kennedy. Yeah,
Nick, I was about to say that. JFK.
they killed
Yeah,
Kennedy.
yeah.
What's the president
Fact.
going to do, bro? What's the president
Fact.
really going to do?
Nothing. Nothing. He has no power. You know, the CIA was like made, like for the government.
Mhm.
And it just branched off into this whole like they do so much illegal shit and they get away with so much illegal shit. And then they want to we're gonna get canceled because of this podcast. The CIA is going like they know too much. They know too much. You know?
So many people that probably talk about like
But-
it won't get canceled until we start saying things that are actually happening like preemptively and warning people.
That's true. That's
Like
true. I mean,
I have a theory about what's going to happen with China.
oh, I can't wait. We can, you know what? I can skip all these questions. We can just do this, bro.
Why?
I'm down. I mean,
You're-
listen, what about like BlackRock, right? We could talk about that, you know.
What's BlackRock? Is that that corporation that like
That
was,
owns
like,
everything. That
Oh.
owns everything. With the Rothschilds.
the Rothschild? I know a lot about the Rothschilds.
Oh, listen. Like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm a truth seeker. I like realism, like because we are so in a like we're blind. Everyone's blind.
Not blind. I'm not blind. You're clearly not blind. But you know what the problem is? We can't do anything. about it.
Nothing. So
What-
what is like if okay, we're still blind from things, right?
That's why I'm nihilist. I'm nihilist because like, what can I really do about the Rothschilds, the CIA?
Nothing.
Politics has turned into a fucking freak show. Sorry, excuse my French, but politics is just like drama. It's like
But
a
it
drama
is.
freak show. I can't believe it. There used to be a day and age. Dave Chappelle told this funny ass joke where back in the day, white people were very, they wouldn't talk about their politics. And he was like, you could be talking to a dude and he'll be telling you a story about fucking his wife in the ass, and then you ask him who he voted for. He's like, whoa, bro, that's personal. Who I vote for is personal. Now it's like you wave flags and you beat people up when you're like, you like the other guy, beat him up.
It's crazy how like so you were talking about social media, and I really am never on Facebook. I just post this podcast now on Facebook. That's literally it. I deleted my Facebook the last time Trump won for presidency because families were deleting families and bashing them. And I never seen anybody like literally like hate somebody so much just because of who they voted for. It was the most wildest thing. And, you know, I feel like it started like when like what's that guy Al Gore, it wasn't as bad, but then it continually got worse and worse. And like when Obama got, became president, he was voted in, and then it became like literally too much when Trump beat Hillary, and like people were like bashing their own family. Listen, I get families don't love each other, and you don't get to choose your family and stuff like that, but like you're gonna like get rid of friends, get rid of family, and bash people just because they voted for somebody is the most wildest concept to me. And I have one tattoo on me, one tattoo, and it's stay positive, because I believe this whole world is so fucking negative. It really is, dude. Really, really is.
A negative world. And you know what? I had an experience in the hospital. I learned something about self, and what you're talking about right now, it's a big part of self. What we identify with is how we react, like at an animal level. So we're so complex. We're humans. We're not animals. We see our children, we see our family, we see our friends, we see our job. That's self. But we've gotten to the point, bro, and I'll say this about sports. I've never liked how much people will put, like, are great. I love playing sports. Watching them, I get a little less entertained. But when people wear the jerseys and they cry because their team lost, or like, like they're just they're beating people up because they're wearing a different jersey, like, you're really over identifying this. Like, this team does not give a fuck about you.
They don't care.
They could care less if you got
beat
up because you wore someone, like you don't see that this is like kind of crazy.
What if sports is really a distraction?
Oh, for sure.
From what's really happening in the real world.
I play a lot of games like Civilization. The only reason you have entertainment is to pretty much calm people down. It's just distracts them.
It's what happened with the olden age in Rome and stuff like that. They used to have,
the Colosseum.
Yeah, the Colosseum and stuff like that. I mean, that literally was like something that like everybody would get together and like literally like root for people dying. It was the craziest concept ever, right? And it brought people together and rooting for the same team or rooting against the other team or whatever the case is, or a guy or girl, whatever. And it literally was just a distraction, so the government can say, all right, well, today we're going to do this, but you know what, the Cowboys are playing tonight, or whatever the case is, and you're like, whoa, like if you really take a step back and look at like the real world and see what's happening, like it's crazy. Literally, sports is just a distraction. I love sports, but it literally is just a distraction from the real world that we live in currently.
Well, and you know what's scary about sports that I've noticed recently? Because it's always been kind of like a thing. It's obviously inflated and blown out of proportion at this point with the contracts and the corporations and the NFL and the NBA and all these organizations that are just massive. They're powerful. And you were talking about power, right? That's power, right? Conglomerating. But what's kind of scary about it now is the gambling. They've added the sports. That was not a thing 10 years or 15 years ago, right? There was no online gambling. You had to go to like a bookie, like it was a lot different. So, you had a stigma. Now it's like everybody's watching the game and they have some type of interest in the game.
Yep.
Like you're watching gambling, and that's a whole industry. And we were talking about entertainment, like what is its purpose? Economically, it calms people down. It gives us something to do. It's not a terrible industry, but it shouldn't be so big that it's like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make us resources or products or help people's lives. It's really just entertainment. So it should be like a back burner kind of,
But it's not.
No, it's not. It's one of the major industries in the US.
Yeah.
But the scary part is the gambling is nothing, dude. Casinos literally exist, and what is the industry there? Stealing money from people?
That's it. That's literally it. It's literally stealing money from people. It's a legal way to steal your money.
It's a legal way to profit off of the fact that
like if you have a gambling problem, call this number. Why do I have to? If they're like what?
Why
like
do I have a gambling problem?
Like what? You know what I'm saying? Like for them to even have a hotline or something like that, so you can call somebody because you have an issue with it. that means there is an issue with it in the beginning before there was an issue with it. You know, like it's a crazy concept. It's a crazy concept, and I agree with you. And what people don't understand too is like the NFL. It's an entertainment business. They know who's winning,
You
right?
think it's scripted? You think it's scripted?
Oh, absolutely.
I
Oh, oh,
I
absolutely.
I think it's scripted, but it's like kind of like they're not gonna they can't script everything. You know what
No,
I mean?
no, absolutely not. They can't
Let them
script
play,
everything.
and then when they can, they're gonna make sure. Like today, I was really surprised that they. I don't think they let the Pacers get. They were trying to let the Cavs win, but the Pacers just wouldn't let the refs let them win. It was like almost like the Pacers would refuse to let.
Listen, they've had literally like guys and refs come out like cheating.
Yeah.
They've
Well,
had players come out cheating.
well, what do you expect? Everybody is corruptible.
Oh yeah.
You
I
know
mean,
they
listen, if the
want
league's hiring the ref, if the
Mm-hmm.
league's hiring the ref, you can't tell me that it's not able to be corrupted.
Well,
The league be like, listen, I want this team to win tonight. You know, I want you to call more flags or more fouls on this side than the other side.
for
What are they
sure.
gonna do? What are they gonna do? This is the people that are employing you, and it's not like an outside third party being a ref, and like they have no ties with the NFL or no ties with the NBA or whatever the case is, no ties with the MLB, right? They have ties because they get paid by the MLB, they get paid by the NBA, they get paid by the NFL. So if the commissioner or whoever it is that's really running it goes, listen, they're gonna be like, all right, this is it. They're paying my salary, right? If your boss tells you go pick up that rock and you tell him no, you're either going to get fired or written up for insubordination. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you pick up you go pick up that fucking rock. That's what you do. That's what your boss tells you to do, right?
And it's just scary to think that we can see and we can definitely believe that there's corruption at that level. How many levels of corruption in local government, state government, federal government? I mean, I know Trump right now and Elon Musk are like clearing out the swamp and finding all this fake money that was going to crazy places. And I mean, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter, or I don't vote personally. I was going to ask you. One of my questions was, do you vote? Because honestly, these days it feels like pointless, right? It almost
Yeah.
feels not. It's I have time. My time is valuable to me. I'm gonna go out vote. I was telling somebody today that he was like, oh, if you don't vote, that is a vote, and I was like, yeah, but about like electoral college and like this state always votes Democrat for the presidential election, so
Like California,
yeah,
they're
it
always going to be
never
Democrat.
changes. And like I don't know, like I guess I would have voted if I voted. I probably would have voted presidential first. Like I never got into it because it just seems so like a drop of water in a bucket. Like what is my vote really matter?
I think personally, where I believe voting does matter, and I know you have kids. I don't have kids, but when I eventually have kids, in my like township,
Yeah,
I feel like that's when my vote will actually matter. Other than that, I absolutely feel exactly what you're feeling right now. Like where does my vote really matter at the end of the day, right? Like if you want my vote, I want more than a two-party system. I want like the independent to be on stage too. I want the libertarian to be on stage. I don't care if they're 3% or whatever the amount is that I want to see them on stage. Maybe if they're on stage and they get to be in a debate, they'll have more than 2% of the population, the vote. But there's people that vote Democrat no matter what. No, vote blue no matter what I do. There's people that will vote Republican no matter what. And like
and
they're
that's a
at a
problem.
standstill, and
That's a
that's an
problem.
issue. That's
That
a
is an issue
huge
because
issue.
that goes back to that like self, and they identify with that team, like their team red or team blue. And they shouldn't be they should be working together.
Yes,
You know
yes,
what I mean? Like they're supposed to
yes.
represent two sides of our government so that we don't get out of like
Well, I feel like they're like total opposite now, though, right?
now
Like, I
hate each
feel
other.
like back in the day, they used to be a lot closer. They had like similar views on certain things, and then yeah, this side believed in this one, this side believed in the other one, and then that's when they would argue about. I just feel like now they're so opposite sides that like no matter who you pick, there's something wrong about that person no matter what. Like you're never gonna. We don't have enough choices and enough people that are running to where we can be literally like have an educational vote on really who we should have as president, because we have two choices that honestly, like, you just have to pick the better of the worst, because they both suck, right? At the end of the day, but I gotta pick the better one. Like, and then everybody gets mad at me for picking the one that I thought was better because they both suck. So I gotta pick the one that is better than the other one.
And that's why I don't even bother.
You see what I'm saying? So I agree with you. I mean, the Constitution, only like what we have as a government now. That's not in the Constitution. The Constitution wanted small, little local governments. That's what it wanted. Not this higher power that controls everything, and you can't even shit without paying taxes on fucking water going down the toilet. It's the craziest thing, dude. It's the craziest thing. And like, federal income tax, we were talking about that. That started in 1913. That wasn't even a fucking thing. Why, if I own a piece of property, that you're going to continue to tax me on a piece of property that I own? It's a wild concept.
They tax sales, they tax income, they tax property. So essentially, they tax capital gains, any bonuses. They tax
everything.
And it's scary because it's like, what it like you said, it wasn't a thing forever. That's what people don't really understand. The Federal Reserve and income tax pretty much were born together.
Yeah.
So when we decided that we needed a stabilized central bank to print our money and to control the economy, which I can see how that's necessary. I'm not a big for banking. I mean, I have a lot of controversies and stuff. You know about fractal reserved lending. So essentially, and this is true for all banks, dude, across the country. And I don't know the exact number, but let's just say it's 10%. Essentially, if you let's use Chris here as an example, because he's a depositor. He's like what we call a depositor because he makes
deposits money.
He deposits money.
And me too. I'm the same way. You can call me a depositor. Yeah.
Well, some people are lending. If you buy a house, you become a lender.
I'm a lender too. Yeah.
So if you buy a house, you have to borrow money. So banks are allowed to give 90% of their deposits out in loans legally.
Right.
And it sounds like, okay, yeah, whatever that. What does that mean? But they literally create currency.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And doing a loan, that money is created because it doesn't really exist. They tell, Chris over here, you still have your, $10,000. They've loaned out 9,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're just always playing the money game. Like, at the end of the night, they have to have that 10%. If they don't have their 10% in like equity in their accounts, they have to borrow it from another bank that night.
Well, you know where that started from, right? It started from gold.
Yes, gold was. They started issuing paper.
Yes. So they would, the government collected all the gold, and they would give you a paper receipt saying this is how much gold you had in the bank, and that's literally what people would do is like go to the bank and like get a note and take interest off their gold, and the bank would give them a loan. And that's literally how loans and everything started. We need to go back to the barter system. Everybody got to be fucking do something in your fucking life. Go farm, go make clothing, be a plumber, be an electrician, do work for somebody. And then you exchange it for goods. And, the barter system worked. It happened for millions of years, right? Or however long the population of people has been around, the barter system worked. I know how to make a fire. You know how to skin a deer. Let's work together and eat tonight. You know what I'm saying?
I got to disagree with you on that one because our society is too complex at this point. We've become so complex that we don't even have a actual like asset tied to our currency. Our currency is literally
it's backed by war.
They think it's backed by oil. Sometimes they say it's backed by oil. I personally think it's just backed by human sweat, blood, and tears, dude.
It's backed by China bonds. This is what it's backed by, to be honest with you.
So all our bonds to China. Do you think? Here's a question for you. I had on my list. Do you think China is beating us? Like if civilization is a game and we're all like competing for the end game, whatever the end game is, do you think China is beating us?
Dude, that's a tough question because I think all right, so here's my question. No nukes involved or nothing like that.
No. Like just
Okay.
be in
All
in
right. Well,
let's
I
be
think
in the
I
end game.
think I think with intelligence, like as far as like a AI, dude, we're screwed. There was literally a thing that came out like 2 years ago with a guy with the head of the Pentagon. Again, government shit. How much do I really believe it? Blah blah. We can go down that thing, but I'm just telling you what this said. The head of the Pentagon said that we like pretty much like there's no sense of us even competing with China because they're like years, like 10, 20 years ahead of where we are right now. They're making a sun in China right now. Like an actual like solar powered sun in China. Do you know if they actually are able to make that and they're making it, they have it in a small like area and they're trying to like emphasize it or whatever the word for it is to like you can literally run like anything off this shit. Like you know
Out.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If
that's good.
they would have infinite power. They're putting like big mega computers deep into the ocean because they get so fucking hot, right? That like they put them into the ocean and it cools it down, and they have to. It's insane what they do over there. It's insane. They build structures in like a week, like sound structures in a week. They have level. I can keep talking about this. So like they have level grade 12
You definitely
concrete.
think China's winning then? China's winning in your opinion?
I think here's the difference. Well, let me just say they have level 12 grade concrete that literally you can cover with a nuclear power plant. You can cover a nuclear power plant, and literally the ground would implode. That's how strong this concrete is.
Wow.
That's what they have. All right, so when you say would China win or America win? I think the people in America are so love their country so much that I think if it was manpower to manpower, tank to tank, gunpower to gunpower, fist to fist, sweat to sweat, America would win.
Okay.
Right? But we
They
know
have more
that's not going
people.
to happen.
They have more people.
I don't care.
I so personally, you want my? I have a theory. It's definitely like this is what will get us canceled and me killed. But
I want to hear the theory. But
okay,
let me finish my statement. Keep the
go ahead.
theory.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think if it was sweat to sweat, fight to fight, fist to fist, gun to gun, man to man, woman to woman, America's winning.
Okay.
But I know that's not the case, right? I know that China's going to bring AI into it and do like EMPs. I know you know what an EMP is,
Yep, yep.
and we're going to be wiped. And the good thing is we have an ocean between us, right? So like it has to be on one of our fronts unless we're nuking each other or flying each other, with planes or whatever. But if EMP, you're not flying anything. So it's kind of tough. It would have to be either on China soil or American soil. And that's really going to depend on really who wins it. But if it's like electronic wise and all that other shit, I think China would win. So I got two sides to that basis, right? So go ahead. I want to hear you.
So one of my things is I can kind of see the future. I don't like to brag.
What's the
um,
lottery numbers for tomorrow?
yeah, no, yeah, I'm obviously hyping myself up here, but I don't like to like when I watch the election, I didn't like know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win, but what I do know is that if Trump won, we were going to be more nationalist and kind of get ready for war, in my opinion. And if what's her face won, we would have been like bowing down to China. So we did not bow down to China. We've chosen nationalism. We've chosen stand our ground kind of stance. But here's the thing: I think militaristically we beat them. Our military beats them. We have more of everything, and we just organized. We're ready to go. We've got bases all around China. We're attacking them. Why would we attack them? That's a bigger question. I feel like an excuse will pop up. Something will happen. Like you said, they're depositing super. We'll make a rule that they can't do that anymore, and then they're going to keep doing
Isn't
it.
that a wild thing though? Why are we able to tell other people what they can and cannot
We're
do
the
though?
police. We're the authority of the world, and we're losing that. We're
Are we
losing that. They're taking it from us. China's taking it. They're everybody's starting to respect China. They're getting Chinese loans. They're getting Chinese support. Europe is kind of like, like who do we support more? They're kind
I
of
mean Russia's with China.
yeah. Well, that's what's scary is China and India together would have like half the world's population, and then they would just take over Southeast. They would just like take over the world if they actually, but they never worked together. But if they did, whew, that'd be scary. But what I was gonna say is, once we start like attacking them for whatever reason, just to keep them, in their place, because that's how we Americans are. We're gonna be like, yeah, stay in your place, you Chinese. You don't put supercomputers in the ocean, okay? And we're gonna beat them up. But when they do that, they're gonna retaliate. In my opinion, you ever seen like movies? I think movies are like kind of like interpretations that are being delivered to me.
Oh yeah. Because they have to do that. The Illuminati type shit. They have to. They have to
want
tell you it's
it
gonna happen.
but
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
They can't.
Just so they can go to heaven if they believe in that shit or whatever.
30 Days of Night. There's a lot of like movies about this concept of like night, darkness, the purge. Um, I think that they just fucking cut our grid off, dude. They like are better, like you said, with electronics and AI and Intel maybe, and they get into our system, they hack our grids, we can't have
It's
power.
happened already. Let's be real. It's already happened.
And do you think, here's the other thing I think they did that was like a long time coming. TikTok culturally degrades us. It makes it
Absolutely.
Theirs is so much more like educational, inspirational, or propaganda, and ours is like dumb shit.
I
And
agree. I agree.
it's stupider. And we don't want to give it up because we have rights, we have freedom here in the United States, and they have no freedom over there. That's another big thing you got to remember. They have very little freedom. Like, we're worried about a police state here. They already have that there.
Yeah, they have it there.
They
have
have
it
it
there.
there. So
Yep.
they're busy bees, always working for the government. We're over here like, fuck the government.
Yep.
We can
Yep.
make podcasts talking about fuck the government.
Are we really that free though?
No. We just talked about how we're forced into getting money. We're forced into doing all of this stuff that, like you said, driving is a privilege.
Yeah.
Essentially,
It's,
being
it's
alive
not.
is
It's not a privilege. It's not a privilege. I
Being
want to
alive
talk to
is a
that fucking
privilege.
judge.
Bro, the way he looked at me, I kid you not. The way I felt was like, this guy could literally look at me and say living is a privilege, and,
Yeah.
and still know, like,
It's
still know.
sad, bro. It's sad.
It's authority.
Yeah,
You ever heard
it-
about
it really is.
The Stanford prison experiment?
No.
So in Stanford in like the 70s, I think, they got a bunch of students together. They held them over like a 3 or 4 day weekend, a long weekend, and they kept them in the school. And essentially, they split them into prison guards and prisoners. And bro, anarchy. The prison guards, for some reason, just are always assholes. It's like a psychological thing. When you have
Wow.
charge of other people, you become an asshole because essentially, nobody likes having their freedom taken away. So everybody who has their freedom taken away is going to retaliate in some way. Like, I don't want to do that. No, not today. Fuck you. And then you got to retaliate back. And then eventually it becomes like they were beating on each other.
Wow.
They were doing all sorts of things. And the guy was like, I didn't expect this.
Wow. And
I
they
thought
didn't. They just split them up in groups as like you're a security guard and you're just a regular student.
Yes,
That's all they
and they
did.
were-
They didn't tell them any basis. Like you're living here for 4 days and that's it. Like that was
This
the
one
basis. Of
rebellious
it.
kid, they like tortured him. They
Shut
were like,
up.
they were like, yeah, they were like treating him like real bad. They like,
Well, I believe that. You ever hear about the monkey experiment?
no, what happened with that?
They put like 5 monkeys into a cage and they put bananas on top of the cage and a monkey would climb up and they would get poured on rain. And when the monkey would fall down and not get a banana, all the other monkeys would beat up the monkey that tried to climb up. And it would happen like a couple times. The 5 monkeys, everybody would take turns and like fall down. They get beat up when it got rained on. Everybody got torrential poured on. And then they started taking one monkey out. And then that monkey would try to climb up. And then that monkey would get beat up and not do it. And then eventually they took all the original monkeys out and stopped raining. And no one would climb up to the bananas. Because it just was like the original 5 monkeys weren't even in there anymore. But for some reason, anytime they would introduce a new monkey, that monkey would not climb up and not do anything because it was already adapted. The other monkeys that had no idea why they were getting beat up, they would just get beat up, and the new monkey would come in, and it just wouldn't happen. And that's like a concept to where there's another study they did to where they put like a group of people in a room, like 5-10 group of people in a room, and like say it was 5 people, 4 of them are actors and 1 of them wasn't. So they would say like what line was bigger, right? And they had like A, B, and C, and C was definitely not the biggest line, and the 4 people would say with C, and eventually everybody would start, even though the 5th person that wasn't an actor knew it wasn't right, they would just follow along with all the other 4.
I've actually seen that experiment. Here's a good example of that. The same experiment, the same guy. He got into an elevator and he'd have actors get into the elevator and face the wrong way, and people would turn around, dude, in an elevator that they ride in all the time.
That's crazy.
They would turn around thinking like, "Oh, these people must know something I don't." Like as
That's
long as it's more than,
crazy.
as long as it's like two or three people, you're gonna be like, "Oh, they clearly they're not together, so they must know
Right.
something, right?" So
Right.
and
Man.
you could know the elevator. They could know that this elevator, and yet your brain is just, I have to follow
It's
the.
great. It's like a sheep thing, to be honest with you.
Yes,
Like
people are very sheep-like.
we are not everybody. It's kind of sad too. Like if you think about it, we always have someone that's a boss. We always have someone
Yeah.
above us. And I believe, going back to a conversation we had before, I believe that, you said there's like multiple branches of government and this and that, and I believe in that. But I also believe I watched this video years ago. And this guy pretty much was like an undercover guy and getting paid a lot of money off the docks and stuff like that. And his job was to literally like figure out how to wash trillions of dollars and back into the economy. Like he literally had infinite amount of money. They literally were like they had a warehouse full of money and they had to his job was to figure out how to legally spend the money. He had infinite amount of money, figure out how to put it back in the economy, right? And he said there's about like 4,500 people that really run the world. Like we already know what's gonna happen. Like these 4,500 people know we're gonna go to war with
And
China.
let me ask you something. How do they run the world? So they used to run the world, and they would come out and show their faces, and then when things were bad, people would cut their heads off. Now we don't know who these people
I
are.
mean, we do. Like we said
Yeah, like the
before, the
Rothschilds,
Rothschilds,
the
right? I
JP
mean, they
Morgan.
own every banking system in every country except like two. And it's kind of weird that every time there's a war, that bank wasn't owned by the Rothschilds until after the war was over.
Mm,
Why
mm,
is that?
mm.
You know?
The Rothschilds are one hell of a family, man. Banking in general is just crazy. It's good because it progresses us faster, but it's bad because somebody has to like.
And like we said before, and I said like I wish we can go back to the barter system, but I absolutely agree with you that we can't because we're too too advanced to do that, right? But I wish we could go back to that. We'll never go back to that, right? But that's when times were like, listen, you didn't like your neighbor, but at the end of the day, your neighbor had chickens and you had goats, like, and you
Yeah.
had to, at the end of the day, you got to go talk to your neighbor. I don't even know what my neighbor's name is currently. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's New Jersey, bro. In Jersey, you don't associate with your neighbor. You
Yeah.
hate them.
Hate them for no reason. They got a
Hate them
Trump
for no
flag, you hate them.
reason.
They got a Harris flag, you hate them. And like
Yeah, exactly.
whatever side you're on, you don't even know
Always going to
them.
be the opposite. So your neighbor's always going to be whatever you want. Oh, he's a Jets fan over
Yeah.
there. You're always. It's like it's just we have to have these divides amongst us. It's so bad.
It's crazy. It's
Okay, so
crazy.
to play devil's advocate to what you were saying about the barter system and like, I play this game, Assassin's Creed. It's I don't know if you know much
I
about.
love that game.
Okay, cool. So like I played the London one. So I've killed the banker,
Uh-huh.
and you have that cut scene where you like kind of have a conversation with him as he's dying, and you're like, you stole millions of money from people. You make people poor. You don't retaliate it in such a way that I was like conflicted. He was like, "Do you think people would do anything with their wealth? Like we are making the world a better place in the long run." It almost was like we're doing, God's work essentially. Like we're making it a better place. Like that's why we get more now.
That's what they feel like.
That's what
Like
that's the way that judge looked at me. Like he was like, I've earned this position. Like I can do whatever I want. Like who holds a judge accountable? Like think about that. Like obviously they're
another judge. I mean,
not a judge, yeah,
that's
right.
it,
But
really. That they're all buddies that sit at the same table.
exactly. So how
Yeah.
accountable are you going to be held by your buddies?
Yeah, you're not.
I mean, when you're a politician, like you make things happen. When you're just this guy who's got all this power. That's what we were talking about, power, right?
Like, how do people go into the government making $120,000 or whatever the case is, and then come out multimillionaires? Come on now.
Nobody in the government cares about their salary from the government, in my opinion. Maybe some of them, maybe some of the congressmen, like
The lower level ones, maybe.
yeah, but like Nancy Pelosi,
Forget about it. That's a
she's
full circle. That's a full circle.
mega rich, bro. It's like she runs the country because she's rich. People who are money run the country. It's kind of like I don't know.
I'm in agreement
People
with
who have
you. You know, the California, there's a whole thing about California and all the last governors and everything besides Arnold Schwarzenegger is that they literally just rotate. They're all related.
Mhm.
Like every governor that's really been there in the last like whatever, a good amount of years, they're all related. There's a circle. It's Nancy Pelosi's related to the governor currently. He's like the second cousin of Nancy Pelosi or some shit. And it's just a wild thing that these people just continue to get rotated into government, out of government. So whatever you want, like because if I'm in that high stage of government, whatever you want, I can pretty much almost make happen. You want me to build you a building? Okay, let's do it. They take underhand payments, and the crazier thing is, back in the day, they used to take underhand payments like on the floor. Drop an envelope. I'll take an
Oh yeah,
underhand payment, and now they just do it openly. They don't care. Look at Biden and Hunter Biden. They got paid millions of dollars. They're literally not even going to jail or nothing.
and honestly, in my opinion, the whole Ukraine war was something about that.
Oh,
I don't know. I
100%.
don't know what it is exactly because I'm not a player in the game, but
I agree. I
Hunter
agree.
Biden does stuff in the Ukraine. Trump's mad about it. Then Biden gets elected, and all of a sudden Russia's like, "Nope, I can't.
Yep,
I gotta invade Ukraine."
I
So it's
agree.
like, something didn't seem right there. Like, why was there business like before the war? There was already talk about Ukraine and Hunter Biden and Biden's association with Ukraine. And then after the war, it was almost like they knew the war was gonna like you said, we don't get the news until 2 days later. You know what I mean? Like they knew there was going to be a war, so they were already over there selling weapons, selling supplies, doing their thing, making money off of war. The Bidens probably, and then
And
you
now
know,
look at it. All right, so here we go. I got a really good question for you.
okay,
Do you believe in aliens?
of course, you can't. I'm a mathematician at heart. Like if somebody asked me like what I really wanted to be when I was a kid, or as an even now, I would say I want to be a mathematician. I want to study math, but it's just what the fuck is that going to pay? But
So what? Why don't you do
I
it?
know I'm gonna do it eventually. I'll be there. But the amount of space, I know it's very slim chances to
You got to
create.
fix that phone, dude.
I know Chris did a good job, but it's starting to fail me. But what was I gonna say? The uh, the infinite space of one galaxy alone, but like we have so many galaxies. I know the chances are very slim, but it's like why us? Like there's no way it was just us, in my opinion.
Well, let me give you a space joke real quick.
Okay.
How do you plan a space party?
How?
You plan it.
Planet. That's a dad joke right there. I'm gonna tell that
Yeah, it
one.
is. Yeah, it
She loves
is.
telling those dad jokes.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have infinite amount of space. And for someone not to believe that there's aliens, our oh man, I can't say the name. I'm gonna mess this up, but you can probably correct me. Our arcadic rhythm, right? Our arcadic
Circadian?
yeah, circadian
Circadian?
rhythm is
Circadian?
actually closer to Mars than it is to Earth.
Huh.
Did you know that? And we've
Well,
been on Earth for all these years. It literally matches Mars, and like
I didn't know that.
yeah, and if you see pictures of Mars, you'll see like literally like pyramid structures that you're like,
Hmm.
this can't be just made by an asteroid, right? I'm just going with I believe in aliens 100%. I
Oh,
believe
I
we're
do
visited
too.
by aliens.
I definitely believe in aliens. I have a really crazy. I don't know. I know you didn't want to do this
No, let's
for
do
too
it.
long, so we're kind of pushing the time limit here. But
What are we at right now? You actually know more than me.
it's 10:45, so I don't know how long we've been on. An hour almost.
All right, let's do this story. I want to hear it.
So
And that means we're gonna have to do this again because these are great conversations right now.
I believe in future humans. So I believe time travel is not like how they show it in the movies, where like you go back in time and then an alternate reality is created. I
Okay.
believe that time is linear. So if somebody has come back in time, they've already come back in time. I mean, they've already been here. And then my theory is that future humans come back in time, go to like ancient Greece, go to like the Vikings, Egypt, all these countries, and they like are the gods. They're just there on vacation, but like they're like,
Okay, okay,
you know
I
what I
get what
mean?
you're saying.
There's a lot of similarities. Both Vikings, the Norse have Thor of lightning, and then you have, but which also makes sense because they were afraid of lightning. Like lightning was scary to them, so they were like, "Oh, that's Thor making noise." But Zeus has lightning. But it makes me wonder, maybe like that's like the armed guard that would go with them with a laser gun. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is all like I could write a movie or a book about it. But in the future, they send people back because first they sent like a butterfly and like nothing happened, and then they sent like bigger things, and then they sent a person and nothing changed, and they're like, we're good. We can make money off of this, right? Well, what is the first thing they're going to think? Let's send people back to the past for
So
vacations.
you're thinking that we are these people that are so far in the future went to the past to say, let's go with pyramids. They helped create the pyramids that didn't exist at that time, and now that they existed and we created the pyramids, we're living into the past reality of real time that the pyramids got created by the future people that went into the past.
Essentially, I think the future people realize at some point when they were like, we can actually go back into the past, build these huge structures that harness like solar or geothermal energy, and then use it, 1,000 years in the future. And they'll be like, yes, look at that. Like we
I
good
get
thing
you because I believe the pyramids is something to do with it. It's so
fun, right?
it's crazy. Do you know that it's literally like at this? It's literally the average height. This is a crazy fact. It's the pyramid. The Great Pyramid is literally the average height of every high peak in the world.
Really?
Yeah, literally the
Oh,
high peak of every single like every mountain, every high peak. The Great Pyramid is literally the average height. Like
it's
it's
kind of like in the center of the world too, right? In the middle of
yes, yes.
the planet.
Like how did people back in the day?
I'm telling you, man. Future humans makes a lot of sense too. In the Indian Hindu religion, there's like a great sky battle that they talk about where Vishnu the Destroyer comes and like saves us from like this evil force that's invading the sky. Doesn't that sound like aliens came here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did though, but that's why I
And
believe
we
a
like
different theory.
sent future spaceships back to defend it.
You ever see Prometheus?
Oh yeah, he steals the fire.
No, 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 no.
Oh, it's a
Prometheus.
show. Oh, it's a
No,
show.
no, no, no. It's a movie. You're gonna have to watch this. It
Okay.
literally is like how humans get built. It's like these they go to a different planet and they are researching something and they find that these big ass like guys like created like humans.
Okay.
It's a crazy concept, but like I feel like my theory. I got a couple different theories, but lately, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. And lately, my theory, because like we go back into like how are we so connected to Mars, right?
Yeah.
They say that actually back in the day, Mars used to be closer to the sun than Earth. And there's an asteroid that came, and they actually like can actually prove this one. I don't know how they science can prove it, but they actually said like something ran through our solar system, and the gravitational force of that thing that ran through our solar system like literally like switched up all the planets
Hmm.
and kind of like put Earth where it was, and and Mars further away. And I feel like we were at such a the human race was at such a high peak, and I don't even know if we should be calling humans at that point, right? Martians or whatever you want to call it, aliens. Maybe we were from Mars, and it's like the Eli Musk concept that let's go to Mars in case Earth gets destroyed or whatever the case is, and we build another civilization on Mars. Like I think that's exactly what happened on Mars to Earth, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's,
And that's just
they said
one theory of mine.
there used to be water on Mars too, so it could
Yeah,
have been just like
absolutely.
Earth. It could have been
Yeah,
just like Earth, and then like that asteroid thing happened, and like maybe they were so advanced that they were able to migrate some people to the planet Earth,
exactly.
and then we like lost all our civil
Or,
technology and
or
civilization.
or what came first, the chicken or the egg theory, right?
Hmm.
What if something hit Mars, right? Took like bacteria and atoms from Mars and dispersed it. It was such a large thing, maybe not even Mars, a different planet, whatever the case is, and landed on Earth, right? And that's when they started creating life. That's why, like, when they say cavemen, I do believe cavemen weren't that advanced, you know? Like, I don't think they were dumb, but I don't think they were so smart. Do I believe in evolution? I think that's a part of evolution, right? Like, some organism, for a human being to be created, right? The molecule to molecule and atom to atom to connect for a human being to be created is like you can't even fathom it.
Yeah, it's gonna take millennia. Honestly, it's
No,
gonna take
you
thousands and thousands of years.
like that's why we don't have any other planet in our solar system that has like humans, right? Because like it's such a like everything has to be perfect for us. We have to be in the perfect distance from the sun. We have to have oxygen to breathe, right? Like we have to have water to drink. Like what were we 75% water, you know, or whatever the case is, you know, like we are there's never going to be another human. Never, ever, ever, ever. You can have another planet, another solar system, but they're not going to be human. They're going to be a different life form, and that's what you call an alien because we are just at a perfect state in the perfect area in the perfect solar system for us to be created as us, the way we look, the way we talk, you know, the way we bleed, the way we heal, you know, like there's never going to be another. There's aliens, but they're not like us.
No, and honestly, we like evolved from like apes, right? So what if we like meet a race that like evolved from like reptiles or some other type of species, and their species could be completely different than ours. So it could be,
Completely.
yeah, we could be like it could be unimaginable. You know what? Your theory kind of reminds me of Halo. You ever play Halo
Oh
games?
yeah, 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 yeah. I see you're big on like video games.
Yeah, video games. I like reading a lot too. I've been reading a lot of different things lately. But in Halo, the Forerunner were like these ancient like predecessors, but they essentially were humans that restart the Earth, the universe. They like blow up the entire universe to restart it. And like you said, they plant life before they
Look,
do that.
watch Prometheus.
Prometheus. I'm gonna look it up.
You
Maybe I'll
need
watch
to
it tonight.
watch this movie, dude. You need to watch this movie. And the next podcast we do, I'm gonna ask you about it.
Okay,
Because
sounds good.
I just
So there's
feel
gonna be a
like
next one.
dude, I don't. I asked you two questions. I didn't flip this page one time. I have like so many questions, and I just think that we didn't even need to. It's just crazy. We didn't even do like thought provoking questions. I feel like we just went into like a deep conversation. It wasn't like thought provoking questions. It was just deep conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Um,
you had some. We started on some. That's what you really need. We should, if you want to continue to do this. I'm not going to tell you how to do your show, but get like requests from people.
I
Things
have been on I have another
you got.
podcast. It's called The
You got.
Caniverse.
Okay.
And I have an email. And actually I am gonna start I have an email for the podcast. It's VerryBlunt podcast at gmail.com. And
Awesome.
I should actually start advertising that. We did get an email on the Caniverse. It's a different
Yeah, I
uh,
was watching that one. I watched that one recently. Just today, Chris was showing it to me. It was really interesting about like the history of weed.
yeah, and the guy that I'm doing with Hollywood, he's just a fantastic, knowledgeable guy on the product too. So, it honestly is like the perfect case scenario. And honestly, like this is great because me and you have very, very similar views on things, and you know the things that I don't. I see. I love to hear that you said about the like, the future going to the past, that type of theory. That's
Yeah.
a really really cool theory. I never actually heard before. It's
Well,
like kind of
it
like
gets
Jumper in a
crazy.
way. It's kind of
It
like,
gets
you ever see
crazy.
the movie Jumper?
Yeah. Well, I think I get my There's a couple movies that I think do time right, where like the person jumped back in the past, and you see him in the past, and like then you see him again in the future, and they're like, I traveled to the past. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh, you travel to the past and then new things happen because you were there. It's like you should have already seen that guy. He was already here. He came back to the
I
past.
mean, do you believe in quantum theory?
Oh, now you pushed the envelope, bro. I'm a PhD. You got to get a PhD guy to talk quantum physics. What's the quantum? What is the quantum theory? You're making me look foolish here.
I mean, like the everything breaks down into like a really really small spot to where like it's like infinite time.
Oh, okay. So I I have this theory, and I don't want to keep just throwing theories at you, but so that it's easy for us to picture the second dimension and the third dimension, right?
Absolutely.
The second dimension being pictures, and third dimension being what we live in.
Don't tell me about Interstellar right now.
No. But fourth dimension, right? So when you look at a two-dimensional plane, a flat plane,
Right.
in the three-dimensional world, there's an infinite amount. Just think about like how many flat planes there are just going up and down, then there's
Yep.
sideways, then there's diagonally, and then there's
Yep.
so there's a million, there's an infinite amount of two-dimensional planes all around us all the time. So I would assume that in the fourth dimension, there are an infinite amount of three-dimensional planes.
Absolutely.
So that's like they're kind of getting to that, like hinting at that with the multiverse and Marvel and stuff.
Right.
There's so many different possibilities for universes if you are able to travel through the fourth dimension, which I believe is energy. I believe energy, force. Did you know that there's four fundamental forces? Since you taught me about quantum theory, I'm going to teach you about the four fundamental forces.
Tell me.
So the first, you'll actually know a lot of them. The weakest one is gravity.
Okay.
Gravity is the weakest one. The third weakest one is called the weak nuclear force, and it has something to do with how atoms break down. The second one is someone we use every day. That's electromagnetic force. So
Okay.
That's electricity. So everybody knows about that one, right?
Right.
And that's also, people don't realize this, but electricity is what holds molecules and atoms together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you a
electron-
question after this, and we're going to end it on
Okay,
it. Go ahead.
Cool. The first strongest one is the force that holds the nucleus together of an atom. It's called the strong force, the strong atomic force. Those four forces, in my opinion, are like four-dimensional beings. Like they're holding our universes together. Like it's unfathomable. And then I think like we are the life force. Life itself has a force. We on this planet have a force, and
that you were saying it's a fifth force then.
There's so many forces. I think the fourth dimension there's friction. Friction is a force. When you rub two things together,
Yeah.
create force, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different forces that exist in the world that I think they all are essentially four-dimensional things because here's another concept. This is all Carl Sagan, by the way. If anybody wants to look into this is Carl Sagan. He was like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of 1970s.
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson, by the way.
Yeah, so he did the Cosmos show in 1970s, but he said if you took a ball, right, a sphere, and you passed it through a two-dimensional plane, what would it look like to the two-dimensional people in the two-dimensional plane? First, it would be a point. It would grow into a circle. It would get bigger and bigger. And then at a certain point, it would start to shrink, and then it would disappear. So if I put that ball through the two-dimensional plane, that's what it would look like.
Right.
So to the two-dimensional people living in the two-dimensional world, they can't see the sphere.
Right.
They only see the point that becomes a circle, and then to them, it would be like magic, though. So think about a fourth-dimensional thing passing through the third dimension. So when these forces pass through, and like life force, what else, gravity, like all these forces are passing through our universe, that's what is giving because three dimensions is just matter, but matter doesn't do anything. Think about it. That's why a lot of people have argued that fourth dimension is time. So I go against the natural argument, which is time is the fourth dimension. I think time is just a measurement.
Time is just a man-made concept.
Yeah, it's just measuring because it fluctuates in different gravitational.
That's literally what it is a measurement. You're absolutely right. That's what time is. It's a man-made measurement.
What is it measuring? It's measuring change. It's measuring the forces that move through our universe.
I also believe that the fourth dimension isn't time.
Isn't time, right?
It can't be. It can't.
Good.
Be.
Let's get this movement going.
There's no way it can be. Because like literally there's a guy that went into the ocean in a sphere, right, and lived there for like 6 months, and I could be wrong on the time that the guy lived there, but he literally like had no idea what type of he didn't have any type of concept of time, nothing. Mm-hmm. No idea if it was dark out, no idea if it was light out, nothing. And he like literally like didn't age at all. Because he didn't know what time was. He just literally lived. That's it. Like no concept of light, no concept of day, slept when he wanted to, did whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's the brain, power of the brain, man.
Power of the brain, dude. We only use like 5%. I think we actually use more than 5%. The theory used to be like 5%, but I think maybe we use about 30% of our brain.
That's a good topic for the next time. We'll talk about the brain and sleep, dude. Sleep is such a crazy.
Ooh,
where do you go? Where do you go? Think about that for a second. I think you like go into if we're all because every single human is an electromagnetic field in this brain. The brain is like a crazy force field. And that's why it's crazy that people are so like I'm cool with just doing nothing with my life. It's like, no, we got to do more, man. We are why these people fly mega million jets. They're literally using our brains to make themselves like gods. But
I mean, yeah, because they didn't build the plane,
they didn't build a plane.
or even
No,
think of a
but
concept of a plane. They just bought a plane with their money, and
bro, they don't have to sweat ever. Like they don't have to work. They don't go out in the sun. Like they are literally gods. They just want something and it appears to them because they have that much power. What is that? What is that power, bro? I want that power. You know how you can get that power? I was thinking about it during this podcast. This podcast, collective minds, all these brains putting together. You could really have something here.
oh,
I,
for sure.
I really hope you take this far, man. Very blunt.
I hope that we take this far, and I
Oh,
think
thank you for including me as a partner.
no, I'm serious, man. I think everybody that I got to work with and everybody that I will get to work with is on a continued growth of a movement that I think that we all can agree on in our own self, right? Like you speaking out today, and like I said, this is why I keep this an open platform, right? And I'm gonna continue to keep this an open platform because I want you and I want everybody to be able to speak how they feel, and maybe someone, even if it's one person, we get 1,000 listeners and one person's like, you know what, I actually might look into this one, or and then start believing it. We change one mind. And even if we talked about like 10 topics today, even if they grasp one topic and we change their mind on one topic, think how big that is, dude. I just think that's monumental.
Honestly, what you're doing is patriotic because you're protecting the First Amendment right, which is not. I don't think that they necessarily suppress it like they do in other countries. In this country, they fill it with noise. There's so much noise, distraction. We talked about the NBA and all that.
I was
Like
gonna say that sports.
nobody talks about themselves, their spirituality. What's the greater purpose of life? Are there life forms out there? Like my brother wants to be a botanist on Mars, and like a part of me wants to shit on his dream. My mom's shitting on his dream, and I'm like, I gotta protect his dream because I'm like, I remember when I was that age. You lose, like, what happens to us, dude?
But I
What
think that's
happens to those
awesome.
dreams? That's awesome, right? He wants to plant plants on Mars, and it's a freaking crazy dream. But I'm like, dude,
Why not?
if you really believe in it, get it done.
Yeah,
Go dream
I think
it.
that's an awesome dream to have. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, and I want to continue, doing this. Like as far as like having people, giving people a platform. And I think Joe Rogan does it. I think there are people that do it right and have that open concept. And I love that idea because I think that a lot of people, like you said, are kind of like sheltered and they don't know who they can talk to. You said like, this is your therapy session this week, and you need someone to talk to, or you don't need somebody to talk to, but it
Oh,
helps you
I
out,
do. I
But
need someone to talk to.
like I'm saying, like it really helps you out. It helps you out a lot, and I think a lot of people have a lot to say, and I think a lot of people should say what they want to say, right? They should have a platform or something to where you can speak your mind and tell people what you think and how you feel, and you're not going to be judged by it, at least you're not being judged by me. I'm sure people are going to judge us off this podcast, and that sucks for them. Sad that you're going to do that, but I hope that eventually this concept grasps people to be like, listen, I don't agree with his concept, I don't agree with what he's saying, but I respect him. I appreciate that he's telling
Oh,
everybody what
sure.
how he
We
feels.
we should be allowed to debate. We've gotten to the point where I can't. I'm a moderate when it comes to politics, and like I try to talk to a blue, they have no understanding of the red, and you try to talk to a red, they have no understanding of the blue. Like there's no middle ground anymore, man. Like we're at a point in this country where I think we're going to be in a civil war, and it's not going to be like the one we had where it was like South versus North. It's going to be like red versus blue.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah,
be like cities versus Midwestern out country. And like the further you get from the city, the more red is going to be like
yep,
red power. And then the
yep.
closer you get to a city, it'll be like blue power. And
I felt that way too. Sadly, I hope it doesn't
it's
happen.
scary. It's scary to think about because like,
I'm not in a great concept of killing people. I don't,
no, no.
I'm
Well,
just
there was
like
one more.
against it.
We talked about a lot of experiments today, and there was one that's kind of sad. I tell the cops this every time I run into them, and I have to like, just make casual conversation with police officers. I always bring up this. this thing. I'm like, you know that they did this experiment where they got a person in like an authority, position, either a doctor or like a, like a police officer's like or an army officer's uniform, and they would tell somebody to shock a person on the other side. Now the person wasn't really getting shocked, but they would have the person test out what it felt like on level one, and it hurt. And they would go all the way. They would go to number two,
Oh yeah, yeah.
go to
They
number
would keep
three,
moving up. I
go
seen
to
that.
number four, and the guy
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
the guy was like playing a recording, but it was like, "Oh, my chest! I'm having chest pains. Please stop!" And they would be
Yep.
like, "No, he agreed
Keep
to
going.
this. Keep
Yeah,
going."
yeah, yeah. Yep.
And people would not stop.
Yep.
70% of people would not stop. And you know what was crazy? They thought that when they started this experiment, they were going to do it on the Americans first and see how strong-willed and good natured Americans are, and then they were going to test it on the Germans and the Japanese and see how like weak-minded they were and how they just do whatever they're told. Didn't even get that far. In America, 70% of people will
I
shock
believe it. You
the
know, and
shit out of
like
somebody.
I bet in like Poland, Polish people love Polish people. Like they are so unified. They're like if you look at the war and everything, I'm serious. Like back in like World War II and World War One and stuff like that. There's a lot of stories about Poland. Like five guys holding up like an army of people, and they were so like proud of it. I bet you.
Loyal, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I bet you in Poland they would be like, nah, if it was a Polish guy with a Polish guy in Poland, they wouldn't shock the other guy at all. You know what I'm saying?
And
Unless there is vodka involved.
well, there's always vodka involved with the Polacks. But what this could be for us, this podcast and just in general, like make me feel good about my purpose. If we can get people together to realize that it's not about flag, it's not about creed, it's not about your party. We're all humans, dude.
Earthlings, baby.
We're all Earthlings.
I'm that is
I might
something
be a Martian. I might be a Martian that
I
like survives.
we are not the same. I am a Martian. I am in such in that belief that like we are Earthlings, no matter what. And I say this a lot too. Like a lot of people that know me know I say this. So this is not just saying something I'm saying to you. Like we should be helping. Like imagine how advanced our society would be. We'd be on Mars already. We would be surpassed Mars. Let's be real. Like if we collectively work together for years, um, us as humans, dude, we are so fucking smart.
Yeah.
We really, really are. We have the capabilities to really do anything. And if we all work together, instead of making atomic bombs to try to destroy people, imagine these people, these scientists and engineers that are working on an atomic bomb to work on time travel. Psh, forget about it. Fucking
That's
forget about it, dude.
dude. The that's the way of the past. Being divided was because they had to. That was them banding together back then. Like we have to band together because those guys over there. I get it, but now we're so evolved that we should be all banding together as one big race. But what's scary, dude, is that they're pushing a narrative right now that's dividing us.
I know. I mean, listen,
So
if
we
we're
gotta
always going to have a two-party system, we're always going to be divided.
Yeah, but not even the party system, the world, everything, bro.
Oh
We
yeah, I
gotta
agree.
preach something that's more unity, like like unifying, and it helps with, like you said, just speaking out, talking about stuff that it bothers you.
I
Things
agree.
that
I
being
agree.
being too small. Do you ever feel too small? Like
Absolutely.
this podcast might be a chance for you to be big, but I feel small a lot of the times, man. Like I feel not hopeless, but like there's nothing I can personally do. And I used to not feel like this
I
before
feel
I had.
like small in society, right? And
Mhm.
that was one of my questions is like, and I think we are going to end this, but I can't wait to do another one. I swear to God, this is
Remember,
great.
I'm always free.
Um, I love that. I love that. I do one a week, and I'm gonna fit you in the next month. I promise you.
Okay.
But there was one about like legacy. I can't find it right now. And I have a couple. I don't
We can
want
do
to.
it next
I
time.
don't even want to. No, next time we're going to talk about brain and sleep, but I am going to throw in at least two of these questions, right? I
Okay.
think we got to throw in a couple of these questions. I do have some great ones to be honest with you, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I love this podcast. I really, really do. I love the way you think, dude, and I don't care what anybody else has ever said in your life. Maybe sometimes you feel small, maybe sometimes you feel not normal, or maybe you feel more normal than anybody else, right? But I think the way you think is so different and vibrant that I think that you don't lose that. And I don't know if it was drugs. I don't know if this is the way you were born. I don't know if that's just your upbringing and your perception of life. But I think it's awesome. I think you should continue to show people this great side that you have about you, because it's fantastic, dude. I feel like you can change minds. You're very intelligent. I speak to you, and this is really one of our first real conversations we ever had in our life, and you're educated. I can't even like
I
deny
bring up a
that.
lot
I
of
don't
like
care.
video game references and movie references,
There's
but
nothing wrong with that.
it's art. That's our form of art.
I
What used to
agree.
be like Michelangelo's sculptures of David, we have movies. Like we don't
I,
we
I,
don't
I
we don't
agree. They
sculpt
say
things.
that if you are going to get surgery, you want a surgeon, and I don't know the exact percentage, but you want the surgeon to play video games because it's like a high percentage of a rate that they're going to be more successful in the surgery than someone that doesn't play video games. And it's like high. It's like I would say like 67% of
Wow.
the surgeons that play video games have a high success rate over the surgeons that don't. And I don't want to quote you on that. Don't quote me on the 67. You can look it up. Everybody that's listening can look it up. But it's like it's such a high percent rate that you want to be like, do you play video games before you get a surgery? Like that type of shit. I'm not gassing.
Play me one on one. You gotta beat me.
I
Uh,
play one on one with no one.
Imagine that. Imagine you're like challenging your surgeon before surgery. Like, I don't know, man.
Hadouken!
You can pick the game, but you gotta beat me at it.
You gotta beat me at it. Hell yeah. So listen, I'm gonna close this podcast, but I'm gonna let you close it out with whatever you want to say. And I'm gonna do the first thing I've ever done in my life. This is the first time I'm doing it. I want you to name the podcast. I want you to give me a name for this podcast. And I'm gonna write it down.
For some reason, Unity is coming up to my mind. It kind of got a cool vibe to
What
it. Unity,
that's what you want, Unity? Give me
Unity.
it's gonna be Very Blunt podcast. What is the headline? Like my headline for the joke for joke is like joke for joke edition, blah. Like whatever. What am I putting this? Unity? I don't. I think that's a
No, no,
good
no.
word. But yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's brainstorm. Are we still recording? You can get to cut this out though, right? Uh, freedom of speech. You want to do that?
Freedom. All right.
Or how about freedom to speak? Or speaking is
No.
not a
No. No.
privilege.
No.
Speaking is not a privilege.
No. Freedom to think.
Freedom to think. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like it.
I like that one.
Freedom to think.
All right.
They
Is
be,
there
they be harassing me about the way I think, bro.
who me?
No, like the
Oh,
authorities.
people.
Like, yeah,
I
people.
know.
Like they're like,
Freedom to think. I like that. That's what's going to be the name of it. All right. Give me a closing ending for you.
uh, just here I got a cool tattoo I could show you real quick. I don't know if it's gonna be flipped, but it says "No fear, just faith." And I
Ooh.
don't like I told you I don't necessarily believe in the traditional God. I'm not like a religious person. So, but having faith in yourself, having faith in that higher power, having faith in your job, having faith in your family, have
Having
faith.
faith in society.
I don't know about that.
I
I have
try,
faith.
right?
You know what? I have faith that humanity is a good. Like deep down, we're good.
I do too.
Society. You know what I
I do
mean? Like
too.
society won't let bad people make it a bad world. I think.
I agree. All right. Let me show my tattoo. My only one. Stay positive, baby.
That is a
That's
hidden. That is a hidden one. That's a hidden gem.
yes. Stay positive, guys. That's the mentality, And all right, big guy. I appreciate you. And until next
Namaste.
time.
That
Yes,
was a
sir.
very awesome. Thank you.
Peace, guys.